So, what do you guys think about the recent quarterback signings? Derek Carr going to the Saints, Daniel Jones getting his big contract. I know you guys had a lot to say about the Geno contract. What do you guys think? You go ahead first, Amos, since you're the one with the quarterback that got signed.
Yep. So I'll just jump in. There's been a lot of confusion, a lot of reports that weren't true, and a lot of numbers that just weren't true. So initial reports came out having Geno Smith for about 3 years, making about 40 to 50 a year, and
I thought it
we
was
had a lot of people.
35
I think it was like
because it was three
I think it was
years, 105, which is about 35 each.
no, I think it was like 40 to 50 because remember it was going to be incentives. I think they said it was incentive based because
Yeah,
remember it was,
it was only 2 years that they actually had. It
I
was the
thought,
because
contract was for 3 years, but there was only money in 2 years of it,
oh,
and that's
okay,
same
why.
tweet.
because I remember
And
the ESPN alert that came out said 3 years, 105, which in average is 35 a year.
Yeah, but it was this, I'm saying you got to remember it was the same tweet that had Derek Carr's tweet, right? And I think they had Derek Carr making 70, Geno at 50, but then it was in parentheses. It was like 40 and 60 actually for them. But anyways,
Oh,
that's regardless of the point. So guys, when you actually see the numbers and like we talked about this before we got on air, so like KJ's my guy. I got a little upset at KJ because like we were talking about, hey, maybe the Seahawks should have traded for Lamar Jackson. And, we basically were getting the money kind of wrong because my point was, hey, as of now, today, Geno Smith is making the 16th. He's the 16th highest paid quarterback in the league, 16th. So that's average. So had you have traded for Lamar Jackson, that's a lot more money because again, top five. When you get that franchise tag, that's top five money.
well,
You're
that
gonna
was another thing I wanted to tell you was that since it's non-exclusive, it's only 32, and I looked at the tweet that you sent me. Gino's making 28 his first year, so it's only a $4 million difference.
No, it's 28 with incentives, bro. It's 25 base.
Well, even
yeah.
then, that's only 7 million difference between what because
KJ,
Lamar's only
KJ,
making
no, no,
32.
KJ, just go. At the end of the day, KJ, the most simple thing to do is just type 2023 QB's highest salaries. The first thing you're gonna see is it says because they have everything updated. Geno Smith is at 16th, JJ 16th, and like Alan says, it's all incentive based. And so at the end of the day, my point is, why trade for a guy and be top? Why trade for a guy and then have to pay this guy top three money when you can keep all your draft picks, you can keep all that money and spend it on positions that need help. That was my point. And so Geno Smith, he played like a top 6, 7, 8 QB last season. Do I necessarily expect it this next coming season? Not fully, but I also do expect him to be at least a top 10 to 12 guy. And so with that said, what you don't want to do is you don't want to break the bank for a QB who isn't going to give you the best production. And as we've seen, other than Mahomes, teams don't win Super Bowls. They don't even get that far when your QB is making a certain percentage. So with that said, now that I've seen the contract and it's came out in details, I actually like Geno Smith's contract. I'm for it. Do I think the Seahawks are going to be automatically a contender now because of that? No. And I just think that with those picks and the extra cap space that they have to use it on the defense because the defense has been so trash. Let's just be honest. They don't have a lot of talent. And so, long story short, I am happy with the contract. I know Derek Carr signed a contract as well, and it's a little bit for a little bit more. And I wasn't really a huge fan of that contract either because I think now
Well,
he's probably
before you
10.
go, I have a question. So I don't know much about it, but I saw that the only thing that a team needed to give up to get Lamar was 2 first round picks. That's all because it's not a trade; it's a contract signing. They're matching the contract, and the only thing that the Ravens get for it is 2 first rounds. You wouldn't have to trade any players or any other picks.
So you're okay. So I think what you're talking about is if you franchise tag someone, they can give him a certain. It's like a if for example, I think a team can talk to the Ravens, and I think it's like a I don't know the exact. I don't remember what it's called, but like back in the day, Steve Hutchinson, Efren and Allen, you guys remember Steve Hutchinson. The Seahawks franchise, they didn't franchise Steve Hutchinson. They gave him like a alternative franchise tag, and what
The
happens is it's like
non-exclusive.
exclusive. And so what happens, KJ, is basically by doing that, you can then still offer him a contract, but then you have any teams then can then trade for him and they have to give up a certain amount of whatever. So maybe that's the case, KJ. But
Hold,
I also know
hold on, and this is the reason I was talking about that, because KJ was right. I did read into that contract that he's talking about. All they were gonna so any team that signs
Lamar,
they said that
and that
signs
right that
Lamar.
the Ravens don't match. It's
Yeah,
only
that
two
they
first
don't match
rounds.
has to give up 2 first-round picks. That's the only thing. They said if he signs with any team that cannot get matched, that team has that's part of the what's it called,
The
the
franchise tag, the non-exclusive, because it's not a
yeah.
sign-in trade;
So
it's just a signing.
Right,
Yeah,
Alan,
for sure.
can you look at it,
But that
Alan?
I'm looking at it right now. This is exactly what it says, guys. Okay, so it says he's number 16. It says total value of the contract is $75 million, which averages out to 25 over the 3 years. Then it talks about the incentives. There's like $50 million or another $32 million in
Yeah, this is
incentives,
for
bro. And
105.
Yeah, no, but
that's over the 3 years. He
We're
can
talking
only
about the
get so
Lamar.
much each year.
yeah,
We're
but if
talking
you
about
look at
Lamar.
it, we're talking about Lamar. But if you look at it, if you look at that same site, it's 25 to 32 next year. So it's a $7 million difference. But what we're asking is, Alan, what are the stipulations on signing Lamar? I thought it was you only have to give up 2 first-round picks, but I don't know. That's why I was
Yeah,
asking.
that's it. It's just 2 first-round draft picks.
So you don't have to give up a second round or any players.
Nope, it's just 2 first-round draft picks, and I don't even think it has to be in the same year,
No,
actually,
it's
either.
this
I
year
think
and
it could
next
be in
year.
consecutive years. Yeah,
it depends though, because if you have 2 first-round picks this year, it would actually be the first 2 this year. It's your first
Oh.
2-round picks.
would it? That's right,
So
because they were saying whoever, because doesn't
Like the
somebody have
Lions, the
has a
Lions have
they have like the 4th pick and the 21st pick or something like that.
But
the Lions have a
Indianapolis.
bunch of picks.
yeah, but just to be clear, the reason why we were arguing differences though. You're talking about if a team were to sign them. The whole time
Right.
I was talking about a trade for them.
If they
That's what I'm
trade
saying.
him, then then it would be
Different.
probably a grip of.
So
And then
that,
they still
so they
got
put
to
that,
sign him.
yeah.
Right,
So they,
and well, hold on, everyone. And so what I'm saying is, even signing him would, and Efren, in fairness to you, signing and trading, your idea to sign him would be better than trading for him. So in fairness to you, it does sound better, but I still disagree, right? Because again, signing him, you're still losing 2 top first-round picks this year, which you would, on top of having to give him that top 5, top 3 salary, And so again, my point to Efren earlier was just that, you do that. Yeah, you might get a QB who's better than Geno. I'm not going to sit here and say Geno's better than Lamar, but my question is, 1, how much is Lamar going to be better than him? And then 2, my argument is with that, whatever money it is, right? I don't want to like make up a number, but I'm just saying, whatever it is, you can use that number that you saved on Lamar for Geno on top of the first 2-round picks you have this year, on top of the second rounds, whatever, and you can build your team. And so to me, and Efren's a Seahawks hater, and I say this jokingly with him, but it's like Efren, you would admit too that the Seahawks just aren't very talented, right? And so I just think with Lamar, you add Lamar, yes, the offense will be better, but the defense, Efren, I just think would still be so far behind, And so that's all I'm trying to say. But yeah, AJ is
honestly,
My question to that is, though, wouldn't you rather take, and I'm sorry, Efren, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm going to forget this point. Wouldn't you rather take, right now, that's the problems that the Ravens have. If you don't sign them now, next year the cap's going to get even higher, and it's going to get even higher. Do you see that by signing Geno and not taking a chance on getting Lamar, that within those 3 years, either A, you're going to be able to draft a quarterback that'll be good enough to take over for Geno, or B, that Geno will be good enough in 3 years and that these defensive picks that you take now are going to be able to win you a Super Bowl, when you could right now sign Lamar before the cap goes up, then he would be a ranked 5, 6 ranked signed QB, kind of like because he just wants a better contract than Deshaun Watson, which would be 3rd behind Kyler. In a couple years, that would be down to like 7th or 6th, because you see,
it would be 4th.
No,
Aaron Rodgers is number 1, bro.
Well, I know, but I'm saying like in a couple, like it's been 1 or 2 years since Patrick Mahomes got signed, and he's already down to 5th, and they're talking about he's going to be out of the top 10 by a couple years. So then you see
next year, actually, they're saying that.
Yeah, so then you would have Lamar on a contract.
You got Burrows, Herbert, and
what's the other?
Who else? You got to put Lamar into that too.
Yeah, and if you sign Lamar now and you lock him up for 5 years, and you've seen how loyal he was to the Ravens before they started treating him badly, you have Lamar. You go through 1 year where you don't have your first round picks, but you still have the other 6 rounds, and then next year you still have your first round picks. Wouldn't you take one lull year with Lamar and then use your picks to get defensive players over getting Geno for 3 years where you know he's never going to be as talented as Lamar has ever been, and you got these defensive players now, what are you going to do? Wouldn't you rather take the for sure option that you're going to have a top 5 quarterback on maybe a top 10 contract in 2 to 3 years?
So I hear what you're saying, but I can't get behind that because, again, you're talking about Geno Smith, who was, by any metric, again, was a top 7 guy last year. And Lamar Jackson, besides his MVP year, he's usually around a top 5 to 6, 7, 8 guy, And so, again, you're basically making the argument. And I hear what you're saying, KJ. It's the old age saying of, hey, let's trade for a proven talent over these lottery picks, and that's really what it is. But you could say that about any team. Hey, why not get this proven QB who's in limbo instead of taking your chances on these lottery picks? But it's just not as simple as that, because at the end of the day, front offices always value high draft picks way more.
Yes.
If you look at the trade chart, KJ, a number 1 pick, I'm dead ass. A number 1 pick is arguably more valuable than a top 5 to 10 QB, not like a Mahomes, not a Burrow type.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, look at the value, for example, of this trade today, right? The Panthers and Bears. The Bears traded 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and DJ Moore just for the first pick.
You mean the Panthers?
The Panthers.
Yes.
And so for you're having to give a lot. And so my point is, you're asking us to give up 2 first-round picks, which, again, we have a top 5 pick, and you just saw what the Bears were able to get with the number 1, which is higher than the 5, no doubt. But my point is, the 5, you can get someone like Jalen Carter, who, KJ, I don't expect you to be like a draft expert, but like Jalen Carter.
You don't want Jalen Carter.
What's up?
You don't want Jalen Carter anymore. Trust me. They're not going to. I know you guys will probably go for him.
Oh, Jalen Carter, I'm just being dead ass, Efren. They're saying Jalen Carter is the best 3/5 technique to come out the draft in like 10, 15 years. Now, if you're talking about from like his off field, or you know what I'm saying, fine, fair, right? But I'm just saying from a talent standpoint, bro, Will Anderson, it's going to be either him or Jalen Carter. Efren, you know this probably better or I know this probably the best, but you know this probably better than anybody other than me. Will Anderson last year was a Heisman contender as a defensive end. So you have 2 true superstar guys who you can get with that 5th pick. And so my point is, I don't want to lose that.
Wait, what position does Jalen Carter play?
And who's to say that a first quarterback pick isn't going to be a flop anyway?
Well,
right?
Yeah, but what position does he play?
So KJ, hold on. So defensive tackle, KJ, he's a 3-tech, 5-tech, and those positions, like, it's that and pass rush is the most important position on defense, but especially interior, because there's just not many interiors. So when you can get someone that can rush from the interior, aka Aaron Donald, that's extremely valuable.
Cool.
So
I was just confused. Well, I was just confused because when you were saying the reason why you don't want to. You said the reason why you need these draft picks is to bulk up your defense. I didn't know if it sounded like you were saying Jalen Carter was a quarterback. I was like, well, you just signed Geno. Why would you get another quarterback and say you need the picks for defensive? That's because I didn't know what position he played.
Because we kind of gotten off the subject.
Because we moved from quarterback. Because you moved from quarterback to the pick so quick. I thought you were talking about he was a quarterback. I don't know what position he plays.
He's trying to make a point about giving up those picks, though.
Yeah.
And I understand what you're saying. Amos.
And it's like, why would we pick the QB? Okay, you got to understand too, though. Why would we use the 5th pick on a QB when we're trying to get to build up our role?
I'm just saying you moved into that so fast, and then it just seemed like you were talking about QB, and I don't know what position he plays.
Can I ask you a question?
Tackle.
Saying draft, we're talking about draft picks. That was your assumption, though. That I was talking about.
Right.
Can I ask you a question, Amos?
Yeah.
Name the last top 5 D tackle that made a difference on their team.
Oh, I actually have a really good one for you, actually. What's his the guy for the Jets?
Philadelphia.
No. Not from the Jets. Quinn Williams.
Bro, Quinn Williams, it was literally a top 5 for defensive player in the year.
What about Walker last year?
That's hold on. So Efren, with all due respect, you're completely wrong, and I'm gonna tell you why. Walker, bro, he's a defensive end. He's a pass rusher.
Getting
That's
off the
completely
subject,
different.
guys. We're getting off the subject.
That's what I'm saying. It's not the same subject, Efren. Jalen Carter is a 3T 5 tech, okay, that rushes the passer from the inside. He's strictly an inside guy, which is always more valuable because he can rush the passer. Whereas you're talking about a guy like a Walker last year who they drafted him off of combine, which we'll get to the combine soon, but they drafted Walker off of his combine. If you remember, Efren, they actually had Jalen Carter as the number one guy on that team last year. And he was a freaking
and he had a worse year this year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So my point is, Efren, to your question, what was the last impact top 5 defensive tackles? Guess what, Efren? There's not, because they don't do them, right? There's not, defensive tackles are never good enough usually to be a top 5 pick. That's why you don't see them very often, you know? And so to that point, that's why when you can get a guy, a superstar like Jalen Carter or Will Anderson at 5, I'm taking that all day long. And so at the end of the day, like I said, I personally, that doesn't mean I'm right. We're all talking here, but I'm just saying personally, I'm banking on Geno being close enough to Lamar. That's 1. 2, I'm banking on saving the money from getting Geno. It's going to be a big difference than Lamar, and use those funds to pick up talent. But 3, and that's the main thing, is 3 is the draft picks. When you're a team that's not ready to contend ASAP, when you're a team that's not elite just yet, and the Seahawks are not elite just yet, they're not ready to contend just yet because of that defense. They have a terrible defense. You have to build on draft picks, and draft picks is the most valuable that draft picks for teams who are contenders are the most valuable thing.
A commodity. Yep.
Well,
you're right.
Yeah. It's really, the trade chart for top 5 picks is ridiculously high. It's astonishing high. So I'm just saying, guys, it's one thing if maybe we were worse, then okay, I can maybe get on with that. But it just, man, I can't agree with that. I just think, those picks.
I can't either, Amos. I agree with you wholeheartedly. And then here's something that nobody's brought up yet, and I was just kind of thinking this is, has Lamar said anything about where he would like to go?
Just a place that's going to give him a long-term contract, because Ravens.
Okay, so do you think that he would be happy going just anywhere?
I mean, I don't see why not. He doesn't.
So who's to say if you trade for him, he's not happy with the team that he goes to, he doesn't sign a long-term contract?
Well, no, that's the thing.
All those picks and a franchise quarterback too.
Well, no. Before you go, Efren,
how loyal has Lamar been to the Ravens?
Well, no. Before
we don't know his preferences though. We don't know where he wants to go. He may not want to play in a bunch of places.
But Alan, the thing is, hold on.
Okay, you're going to say the signing though. He's talking about trading. You're going to bring up the signing, right? Right.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that you should have held on. What I would have done is the same thing, the same problem that the Giants had. You guys don't. The reason why the Giants didn't franchise Daniel Jones was because they want to franchise tag Saquon. You guys don't have anybody else that you need to franchise tag, so I would have franchise tagged Geno Smith. But what I'm saying is that if you could have signed Lamar before you signed Geno, I would have done that. Now that you've signed Geno, I don't think you trade for him. I think the only way you should have done it is if you had signed Lamar, not traded for him. Trading for him is giving up too much. If you're doing just signing, you're only giving up the 2 first-round picks. And then who's to say, if you, like you said, if he doesn't like Seattle, that doesn't mean he's not going to play well. So then you can still trade his contract after a year.
But if he doesn't
work.
like Seattle, then there's no chance of you signing him, though, bro. That's the thing.
Well, that's the thing. You go out to try.
You have no chance of signing him if he doesn't want to play here.
But what I'm saying is you at least keep the option open to do it. And that's why I don't know why they were so fast to sign Geno when you could have waited and tried for Lamar before going. Like, it's not like Geno was going to get up and go anywhere.
Hold on, I think what Alan's saying. Hold on, I think what Alan's saying is, because of what his preferences of where he's playing at, is he wouldn't want to go to a team that's not going to be a playoff contender.
Well, and I'm not even saying that, bro. I mean, there may be some cities that he doesn't want to play in. I mean, where's he from? He's from the Midwest, right?
I'm from Alabama.
He might want to play. He might want to play in Chicago. He might want to play.
He went to Louisville, right?
He went to Louisville.
Hold on. Here's my thing, though. KJ is talking about the Seahawks. This isn't me being biased about the Seahawks, but you guys know me. I'll happily hit on the Seahawks. How can you blame the Seahawks for signing Geno when I don't know how many times we have to go over this? He's making the 16th right now with that
Right,
contract.
bro. And if you franchise tag him, what's the franchise tag?
Well, no.
That's what I'm KJ, let me say this. You said you would have rather them franchise tagged him, and then now he's making way more money. He'd be on the top 5 right now. Instead,
but your argument was that you guys are not making a deep playoff run next year, right? You said you have.
I don't. No, KJ.
No,
we won't make run with. I'm saying without those picks, we wouldn't make that pick. No. So my argument is yes. I'd rather have the extra money. I'd rather have those draft picks. And I'd rather have Geno, who showed when he's healthy. Like last year, he was as close as Lamar Jackson. Again, it's just 1 year thing. So again, don't shoot me. It's 1 year. But for that 1 year with Lamar Jackson, and it was injuries. Lamar Jackson wasn't a top 5 guy. Okay, so Geno, he was outside the top 5, just like Geno. They both were the same. Going forward, anybody would take Lamar. We all get this. But I'm just saying, for the money, for the picks. No, I'm going with what the Seahawks did. And if it was so easy, KJ, you would have all these teams doing that. But literally, the Giants, who are more ready to win, guess what? They're choosing Daniel Jones over him.
Yeah,
what's going on? What are we all accusing ownership of doing?
I know, but my question:
they don't want to pay anybody.
Well, no, but that's the thing. I just want
the head coach at New York. Look at the head coach in New York.
Saleh.
Huh?
Saleh.
No, not the Jets. Not the Jets.
Oh, Dable. Yeah.
What is he? A quarterback guru too. Look at the quarterbacks he's worked with.
Is Pete Carroll a quarterback guru?
People say he is.
Who says he is?
Oscars told me that.
I don't think they say that he's a quarterback guru, but he's good at fitting people together.
But I just need you to answer my question, Amos. You said that you don't think they would make it. Do you think even with your picks that you would make a deep playoff run this year?
I think we'd have a better chance. I mean, but I did answer your question. Okay? Just listen to me. Just maybe I'm not explaining it right. Okay, maybe I'm explaining it bad. But I'm saying I did answer your question, KJ. I'm saying the difference between Lamar Jackson and Geno Smith.
I know. I'm not talking about Lamar anymore.
Just this past year.
No, but again, KJ, you're asking me if I think Geno Smith, and you're asked what, Lamar Jackson or Geno Smith? Okay,
no, that's not what I'm asking.
What are you asking?
What I'm asking is, even with your picks, do you think you're going far this year?
Not necessarily, but I wouldn't think so. Okay.
So my question is, if you don't think you're going far this year, you don't need all that money to pay, or you don't need all that money to pay other people to come to the organization to play. Why not see if Lamar can do this, or if Geno?
The money, bro. It's about the draft picks.
No, but you're not listening. I'm not talking about Lamar. I'm talking about why not franchise tag Geno to see if he plays the same way this year as he did last year before you give him a long contract to see if he's even worth keeping when you don't need the money next year. It's only 1 year.
KJ, but that contract he signed, you can get out of it after the first year.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that, but then that's the first time you said that.
Bro,
that's the first time you said that
before we even started the podcast. When
I wasn't here,
we were throwing each other under the bus. Yeah, right, exactly.
I wasn't here. My internet was out. How am I supposed to know that?
You're asking a question. I'm telling you, and now you're upset at me saying I didn't know. Well, I'm telling you, you asked the question, right?
No, I'm getting upset because I've been trying to ask the same question, and you guys keep thinking I'm talking about Lamar when I'm just asking about just Geno Smith in general. Do you think he can replicate what he did this year? That's the same reason why why everybody's mad that Daniel Jones got that contract, is because they don't think he can do it 2 years in a row.
But would you rather give him $25 million or give him 32 on a non-restricted, or even more if it was just a regular franchise tag?
If you need 1 year to find out, just give him the one. But I didn't know that with the $25 million contract that you can opt out at the first year. That's what I didn't know.
That was that was kind of the whole thing about that contract, though, bro.
But I wasn't here.
AJ, but you weren't here when I said I'm banking on Geno being a top 10 to 12 guy. You were in here. I just said this on the stream. So my point is, if I'm banking on Geno Smith being a 10 to 12 guy, I just said Lamar Jackson last year he was a little bit hurt, but generally he's always outside that top 5.
But what if he isn't? Is my question. What if Geno doesn't replicate is a top 10 quarterback?
Okay, but again, that's my thinking. At the end of the day, all these trades are risk. What if you trade for Lamar and then he's terrible? Okay,
and he's
not talking about ifs and what's ifs. That's I mean that we're not going to get anywhere with this discussion. All I'm saying is I'm banking on Geno Smith being close to Lamar Jackson because he was last year. That's the most recent season because he was. And on top of having that salary, the money, the extra money, on top of having those draft picks. Regardless, I don't think we're going to be Super Bowl contenders whether we do Lamar Jackson or Geno. But going forward, we're gonna have more cap room the following season on top of having those draft picks. So that's why I'm going with Geno every day of the week.
I'm agreeing with you. I say that you don't trade for Lamar. I wasn't here to hear that after the first year you can opt out. I'm thinking that you're with him for 3 years. So what my question was, screw Lamar. Why not see if Geno can replicate it? I didn't know that you could opt out of the first year. So I was like, okay, you have him for 3 years. Why wouldn't you just use your money, use an extra 20 million since you don't think you're going anywhere this year to find out if he can? I didn't know that you could just opt out after the first year.
That part, KJ, we get it. But I'm just saying, you asked the question, and I'm telling you this, and then you're like, "Well, I didn't know this." Well, I'm telling you this, but I'm just saying, as far as you saying the whole Geno Lamar thing, I did tell you. I said I think Geno can be close to Lamar, and I gave all these reasons why I think we can be successful going forward. But like, yeah, I get your question now. But like I said, yeah, franchise tag, that's 1 year. But the deal we gave him, you can get out of it after the first year. So like, it's
and
not.
I didn't know that. That's why I like, because everybody's complaining about the Daniel Jones. Why wouldn't you franchise tag him when they franchise tag Saquon? That's why I was like, why wouldn't you try to franchise tag as well?
Running back has a shorter lifespan in the league than a quarterback does, bro.
No, I know, but I didn't
Smith
know.
Is a perfect example of that. I mean, he's been in the league 11 years now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, you also can't
starting to shine.
You also can't compare a QB franchise tag with like a running back or a tight end because I told you guys
exactly
before,
because there's about $30 million difference in that.
Before, if you have a rookie tight end who ends up being the best tight end in the game, you want to franchise tag this guy because the best tight ends aren't making that crazy amount of money. Like the market will be even higher and higher, you know what I'm saying? Whereas a QB, you're like, oh, it's going to really kill me, you know? Or like safety, for example. Safety and tight end, if you guys look at like the average, it's not that crazy. So like you guys can have
like
a super
mil.
Whoa. You guys can have a super positions and afford it, yeah.
With all that,
and the tag on Saquon is only $10 million, bro.
No, I'm
compared
just
to 41 if they did it to Daniel Jones.
I don't know what. Well, I mean, he's getting 45 anyways. It's a $4 million difference. But what I'm saying is,
I'm just saying. But
I didn't
look at the difference in that money, though.
No, I know. I'm saying that I don't know. I don't know much about that. And the Daniel Jones situation seems more bad because I mean he only had 15 touchdowns this year. Franchise tag him, save $4 million, sign Saquon to whatever, and see if he can do it again because Daniel Jones is even bigger risk than Geno. I don't know much about these franchise tag and contracts.
Hold on, KJ. Before you even say that about Daniel Jones, like this guy has shown an uprising from what he was. And now having that coach that he has in New York right now, I believe he can make him into a top quarterback. So that's why I believe the Giants believe in him so much. You know,
but, I mean, when they don't allow you to pass, I mean, it's kind of hard to. I mean, it's kind of easy to look better when you're not passing as much as everybody else. I mean, 15 touchdowns, that's not that impressive.
Yeah, but you got to remember who they have in the backfield as well. You have all these other quarterbacks. The reason you see name the quarterbacks that have 30 passing touchdowns. Tell me who the running back is in the backfield.
I mean, Mahomes. Herbert's
name
third.
Running back at the beginning of the season and name his running back at the end of the season.
Herbert has Austin Eckler. He's third in attempts.
Austin Eckler is not a real running back.
Joe Burrow's fourth, and he's got Joe Mixon.
Austin Eckler is a third down back that can catch the ball outside. How many catches does he have?
Who?
Austin Eckler.
He had over 100 this year. But what I'm saying is,
you're wrong. Efren, you're so wrong, but you're so right. No, Efren, you're so wrong, but you're so right. So, like, you are right. Eckler is an elite passing down back. All right. So you can't discredit him. He's elite passing back. But you're right. He's not an elite runner though. And I do think you're talking about like from a runner standpoint.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? I actually do kind of tend to agree with you, Efren. But I'll also add, like, look at Joe Burrow, though, for example. Joe Mixon was a top 5 rushing guy this year.
And he's fourth in attempts.
He carried my fantasy team.
Burrow's fourth in
Yeah,
attempts.
Burrow had okay, and then what else? So all the quarterbacks
Jalen Hurts was 10th. He's got Miles
so
Sanders
what
and all
all
those
do they
running.
run there?
They do a
Miles
running.
Sanders? But
Yeah,
Miles
but that
Sanders,
was running back by committee, though, bro. They
Yeah.
had 3 guys that
No,
were
yeah,
getting
But I'm
snaps.
saying even then with a running back by committee, you got 3 running backs and he was still 10th in attempts. To say that the only reason why these quarterbacks have high attempts is because they have no running backs.
it's true.
I mean,
But it's true because you name another one that they don't try to run in New York. You're trying to run the ball most of the time. When have we seen a screenplay to Saquon Barkley? How many times do you see a screenplay to him? How much time do you see him throwing out of the backfield to throw to him? No, they like. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That in New York, you're a run first offense. That's why he didn't have that much touchdowns. You have Saquon Barkley, one of the best running backs right
even
now.
then,
top 5
even then, he's 12th. He's 12th in attempts. Daniel Jones. So he has 534 passes and only 15 touchdowns.
So where's Goff at, though, bro? Where's Goff?
Golf had a career year, man.
Goff is 9th. He had 50 more passes.
He was 9th in attempts?
Yeah.
Really? With that running attack that they had? Wow. That's a lot higher than I thought. What about Aaron Rodgers?
Rodgers was 11th. He was just above Daniel Jones.
But also you got to remember. Hold on. But also you got to remember for Detroit, the reason that he has that is how many games were they playing from behind?
Yeah, no, for sure, Efren, right? Because Detroit's defense was abysmal.
Garbage.
Was but.
Whoa.
Compared to New York, look how many games there were in high scoring. What's it called? High scoring. I don't think they were in high scoring games that much this season. I don't think so.
Yeah. How many points did they average per game
right now? NFL points per game. New York was 18th. They averaged 21 a game.
See?
Oh, so they did average the league average. I think the league average was 21, wasn't it?
Yeah, because they're 19th, they're 18th, but 14th is still averaging 21.
Yeah, so 21. So that means that in the games that they were playing, they were barely winning by less than what? 21 points.
It was a one-score game.
If you go, because you got Kansas City, Philly, and Buffalo are 27 plus, but if you go before that, 4 down to 18 is only a 5-point difference.
Yeah.